Today, I'm sitting with Cameron. Cameron, tell me what you do on a day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis, I spend a lot of time working. I play basketball with the boys, and I do a lot of skateboarding. A lot of skateboarding.
Okay. Why skateboarding?
Gives me time to think to myself
Uh-huh.
because I I'm in my mind a lot.
In my mind. How come?
Past experiences.
Course.
Feeling like I can't say what I want to, so I, in a sense, have a conversation with myself in my head.
Uh-huh. What was your childhood like, Cameron?
To put it simply, fucked up.
Fucked up. How so?
Well, where do I start? Do I start with with druggy mom, the abusive stepmom, or the constant moving around?
What about your father?
I don't know him.
How come?
He dipped out of my life before I was born.
Mm-hmm. What's the, like, do you not know, what's, like, anything you know about him at all?
Um, I actually, I actually have a little bit of things that my grandma and my mom before the accident told me.
What accident?
Um, so
I feel like I'm interrogating you. I'm like, what accident, Cameron?
my mom, she's always been a very, very big druggie.
Mm-hmm.
Cocaine, meth, heroin, all the stuff. She used to sell it. She used to do it. She would traffic it.
Wow.
But she always had warrants out for her arrest, and she was always avoiding the police, skipping the state, doing whatever she has to do to continue whatever fucking lifestyle she wanted. And when I moved back to Sandpoint, and this was when I was in eighth grade. This was my eighth grade year. I'd moved in with her, and then she got kicked out of my aunt's house for having needles.
Wow.
And at the time, I was still fairly innocent, and it's kind of my fault my mom got kicked out
Mm-hmm.
because I found a needle in a shoe in my mom's room, and I didn't know what it was. Like, I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And so I walked out, and I was like, "Hey, Aunt Nita, Uncle Bob, where should I throw this away at?"
Mm-hmm.
And then that led to the argument that got my mom kicked out. And then that's kind of what made her continue doing what she was doing, started hanging out with that group again. And she just dropped off the radar. And then I didn't see her for months, almost a year actually. And then I was in math class, and the principal called my teacher and told me that I need to pack up my stuff and leave, and that something had happened. And I didn't know what it was at the moment, but my aunt and uncle and I drove down to Spokane, and we got to the hospital, and I saw my grandma's car there. I saw my uncle's car there. I saw my aunt's car there. And we went into the ER, and sitting there on life support was my mother,
Mm-hmm.
because the police had finally caught her the night before, and after the heroin and speed wore off, she tried to hang herself
Mm-hmm.
with a bedsheet. And she was, so the human body can go 18 to 22 minutes without air before the brain completely shuts off and you die. And my mom had tried to hang herself, and the guards came in after about 12 minutes of that, and they got her down, and she was still living, but there was massive neurological impairments, and she was on life support for 2 months. And in that time, the decision was given to me to pull the plug.
Mhm.
And I know she was never around, but I was always a mama's boy,
Mhm.
and I just didn't have it in me to say, yeah, it's time.
Mhm.
And after the 2-month mark, she finally woke up from a coma. And the person who woke up was not my mother.
Mhm.
She had the mental capacity of a 4-year-old. She had a hard time speaking in any logistical sentences, and she couldn't carry a normal conversation anymore. And she didn't even know who I was. First moment I walked into that hospital room, and there are still police guards standing outside of her door because she still had like 15 years over her head.
Mhm.
But once they let me through, I walked in there. She looked at me, and with the sternest face and a little goofy smile, she was like, JC? JC is my uncle,
Mhm.
not me. And I've been told me and him look a lot alike. I really don't see it personally.
And you live with your uncle, right?
No, different uncle.
Different uncle.
Yeah, the uncle that I'm referring to is her brother,
Okay.
and she didn't even recognize her own son.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Totally, dog.
And then where was I going with this? You said the accident.
Mhm.
And then like I've seen her 3 times since that moment, since I was in 8th grade summer is when she finally woke up. I've only seen her 3 times in the last 6 years because it tears me apart to see her like that. Like, when your mom looks at you dead in the eyes and says, "Who are you?"
Mhm.
There's nothing that can really match up to that.
Why, or what is what is it like to go see your mom? What is she like now?
I don't go.
Uh-huh.
I know it may sound really messed up, and I love her. I really do, but I've made it my own personal decision that until I'm more emotionally mature
Mhm.
to be able to set aside my emotions from what should be done, I don't think it's fair to my mother for me to go in there with certain expectations when they're not going to be met. And so I am trying to mentally prepare myself and mature. That way, when I do see her, it'll be the right time and I can be there to help her heal instead of using it as a pseudo way for me to feel better.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean, like, for her to heal? And
So, the doctors said that her short-term memory was destroyed,
Mhm.
but she still had her long-term memory.
Mhm.
As in, she knew who I was, but the me that she remembered was 3-year-old me,
Yeah.
not the person who I am at the moment.
Mhm.
And my hope is that within the next few years, that long-term memory is going to start catching up to what my facial structure sort of looks like. That way she'll be able to recognize me a little bit easier. Like, yes, if I had been going there every single day, weekend, what the fuck ever, since the accident, she would know who I am.
Mhm.
But she is in Spokane. She's in a psych ward right now because she needed, well, my grandparents couldn't afford to pay for everything that she needed, so that's why we put her there. And you can't even see her now unless you get the COVID shot.
Mhm.
But
Why was your mom into drugs and had so many crimes committed under her belt?
her life wasn't easy,
Mm-hmm.
but by no means was it well, actually I can't say that because I'm not her and I don't know what was hard for her. But from my perspective, her life wasn't terrible.
Mhm.
Like, yes, my grandfather Bill was a piece of shit abusive man,
Yeah.
but my grandma Stacy and my grandpa John, the two sweetest people I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And she had amazing brothers and amazing sisters, lived in Carywood, had all the space they really needed. If I had to say one thing, if I had to deduce it down to one thing, I would probably say it was the genes that she got from my grandpa Bill's side,
Mhm.
because that man's full on insane.
Mm-hmm.
But also just the people she surrounded herself with. She was constantly around. Well, I know this is gonna sound kind of judgmental, but she was always hanging around the goth kids, the
Mhm.
people that were doing drugs before school, people that were getting drunk on the weekends, drinking 190 proof during lunch.
Yeah.
Like, that was the crowd she always hung out with. It started with cigarettes and weed,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went to Molly and Coke,
Mm-hmm.
just like that.
And then heroin and meth.
Exactly. And then that's when shit started. That's when things got intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I was 9. No, my sister was 9. I was 6. And my mom, this was back when we were living in Carywood at the time. And Mom gets home around 7 in the afternoon. And we could tell she's boozed up. And she looks at my older sister and she says, "Have you eaten?" And she's like, "No." And Mom started yelling at her, saying that it was her fault. She knew that there was food in the kitchen, but she was only 9.
Mhm.
Like, we don't really know how to make food. And then after that, she went into her room, got changed, and then she had my sister drive her to a party. And the party was in Athol, but my sister she was barely old enough to see over the fucking dashboard.
Yeah.
I remember looking at Blair and I was like, what do we do? What can we do? She just shook her head with a sad look in her eye, and then she proceeded to get home at 5 in the morning. Apparently, from what my sister told me, she got there, my mom made her stay in the car, and she just partied all night until she stumbled into the car, passed out in the passenger seat, and my sister had to drive her home. I stayed up all night, worried sick about her. This was back when I was a very, very avid reader, and I remember reading the same chapter in this book series called Gregor the Overlander.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a passage in the last book, and it was about the night at Cloisters, which is a museum in New York City that part of it is dedicated to the medieval times. And there's this knight that he's laying down, made of pure stone, in his entire suit of armor, with his hands clasped over the pommel of his sword, with it laying on his body. And I remember reading that passage, and it speaks of how you can't control the things or the variables that come into your life, but what you can do is let how those variables affect you. That's what you can change. You can either, well, in his situation, some crazy shit was going down, but I just remember thinking about that passage,
Mhm.
about how in in his eyes, Gregor was the knight,
Mm-hmm.
and he withstood so much. And then I kind of took that into a more literary sense, and it kind of stood. It made me stand up when my sister and my mom got home. I was drifting asleep, but when I heard the car door slam, when I heard my mom throwing up outside of her door, something in me snapped, and I yelled. And like I've always been afraid of confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody asks, or most people that you would ask about me they would say I'm a really gentle person, and that I'm nice, I'm not violent, I don't get angry that often, but when I do, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me to yell at my mom made me feel like I wasn't who I was. I remember yelling at her, telling her that she has to stop. And then it was like she didn't even hear anything. Just went back into her room, passed out, then woke up the next morning, drove away, didn't show up for 3 days. But at that point, her not being gone for 3 days wasn't really a red flag. It was just normal.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any good memories with your mom?
Yeah. Not a lot of them from when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
but I do remember this one time. Me and my sister, when we were living in Kerrywood, it was the middle of winter. Me and my sister Blair went out on a hike in the middle of the woods, and we found a hibernating porcupine. He was so cute. My sister freaked out when I picked him up, but we brought him home, and me, my sister, mom just sat there for hours just watching him, just watching the peaceful animal,
Mm-hmm.
taking short breaths, looking, just breathing. And I remember feeling a lot of peace in that moment, because for once we were all in a room together and we were all on the same wavelength. And then there's moments from when I got kicked out of my house in Boise and got shipped up back to Sandpoint and moved in with Mom. I have a couple stories from then, but she was never real. Most of the time she wasn't around then.
Mm-hmm. So who have you lived with for your life so far?
I've lived with my mother, my stepfather, Ben Monroe. I've lived with piece of shit the experiences I had with him were fantastic, but how it ended is why I hate him.
How did it end?
So I'm talking about this guy named JR. He on my birth certificate, he's my father.
Uh-huh. Really?
But he's not my biological father.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, my mom had gotten together with him, and they got married when I was 4. I was actually the ring bearer for their wedding.
Uh-huh.
But he... Pause it. So I've lived with another stepfather, JR, his wife, Holly,
Uh-huh.
and I lived with my aunt, Cherie, Priya, Kim, and Megan.
Uh-huh.
I've lived with my great aunt, Anita, and my great uncle, Bob.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I also lived with my grandma and grandpa.
Uh-huh.
And I had temporary residence at this behavioral school when I was younger.
Go back to that story, though. How did it end?
How did what end?
with your stepdad? You said like
My ex-stepfather?
yeah, you said he was a good time, and then you're like, I fucking hate him. So,
So
what happened?
when I was growing up, he was the ideal. He was the ideal father. Me and him would have we'd shoot Nerf guns at each other, running around the house. We'd go get ice cream. He taught me how to ride a bike. He got me into RC car riding, not riding, racing. He got me into Magic the Gathering, which is still one of my biggest hobbies to this day. And he always tried to make me feel like I belonged. Maybe it was due to the fact that my mom was fucked up, and that he could tell like and stuff like that. But that's not besides the point. How it ended is he had a wife. Her name was Holly. I'll get to her in a minute because there's a lot of shit about her. But he broke up with her. And he started dating this new girl, Tessa. And he found out that I was watching porn. Well, more like she found out. At this moment, before they found out, I wasn't allowed to have a phone. My sister had a phone. My little sister had a phone. Tessa's 2 daughters had a phone. Her 2 sons had a phone. I had a fucking janky computer from the 1960s. And I wasn't allowed to have a phone. But this was before the fact they found out I was watching porn. I was 13 years old. It's not really crazy to imagine a 13-year-old's watching porn. But they found out that I was watching the fucking, like, what's it called? Stepsis Loves Me and shit like that. Like that stuff. And she was so uncomfortable because the fact she had daughters that she thought I was translating that to real life. That she told him either you kick him out or I'm breaking up with you.
Wow.
And me, him, and my sister moved back to our house in Boise at the time. Moved back to the house in Boise, but because he still wanted to have a relationship with her, and we had been like staying most of the night at her house in Meridian. And this went on for about a month until she put her foot down and she said, if you don't leave him, if you don't ship him off, then I'm leaving you within the week. He looked at me, said, I'm sorry, and then bought me a one-way ticket to Sandpoint, told my grandma when my flight was landing, and that was that.
Have you talked to him since?
Fuck no.
Really?
I
wouldn't. That's fucked up, dog.
When I first moved down here,
Yeah.
I tried because he only let me bring one suitcase. I still have so much. I have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of value that he basically stole from me.
Yeah.
And I was never able to get it back. It took us 2 years for him to send me my birth certificate.
Wow.
And the only reason we got it is because we had to take him to court.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. That's fucked up.
But besides that, he was the ideal father. And that's what hurt the most.
Yeah, totally. What about Holly? You said that you hated Holly too.
So, when I was a kid, I had very, very bad behavior problems. I have ADHD and I have really, really bad anger problems. And when I was a kid, I didn't know how to control either. So I was constantly getting in trouble. I was constantly getting into fights. I got into a fight almost every single year when I was in elementary school until high school. Every single year. I got kicked out of 5 schools. I got expelled from 5 schools. Got suspended more than 30 times from various schools. And I got sent to this one reform school where it was a school for fucking people with anger problems. And during all of this, I was living with JR and Holly, and JR was in the National Guard. So he was constantly getting shipped out to various places. He wouldn't be home for months, or he'd be home for months and then gone for the weekends. And whenever he was gone, my stepmom Holly, she was abusive, and she hit me. She didn't hit my sister, but she would emotionally abuse my sister, emotionally abuse me, saying we're stupid and like, why the fuck are you guys the way you are? Or she'd make me do a lot of cleaning around the house, and if there was even one speck of dirt on that door, she was grabbing the belt. She was grabbing the spoon. I got beat so bad one time because I hadn't cleaned the runners on the side of the fucking outside of the house good enough that she beat me so bad she broke the spoon and my back was flayed open. Mm-hmm. You could see the curls of skin coming off of my back. And my sister went next door, got my friend's mother, and then they called my grandma. And then they rushed me to the hospital. And this was the day that, fuck him. But this was the day that JR got back from one of his weekend trainings. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how he did what he did, but she got away scot-free. And my grandma heard about what happened. She was there at the hospital with me. She had gotten a hold of my mom. And see, you don't mess with Mama Bear. Mm-hmm. I remember watching Holly look at my mom, and my mom was obviously fucking zanned out. She was obviously on a bunch of shit. I could smell the liquor, and yeah, I remember fucking that shit. But anyway, I watched my mom beat the living fuck out of Holly, and I've never been more proud of my mom in my life, to be honest. But that night when everything had been fixed and settled, and I was laying in the hospital bed, I was thinking, I was like, why me? Like, yes, I fucked around in school. Yeah, I argued with people. Yeah, I wouldn't let people backtalk me. But like, what had I really done to deserve this? It's like, did I deserve to be beat almost every day? No. Did I deserve to basically starve? No. But something that I've kind of always thought about when I think about that kind of stuff is, would I rather this happen to somebody else? And I say no. I would much rather all of this happen to me than to even dream of any of it happening to anybody.
How come?
If I'm going to be honest, I have a very, very low self-image of myself. Mm-hmm. I view everybody else as more important than I am. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when I feel pain, it reminds me that I'm still alive. Mm-hmm. Because I don't feel happiness anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I laugh and I smile, but that's all fake. The only thing that truly feels real to me is hurt and betrayal. Mm-hmm. But that's probably because that's all I've known. Mm-hmm.
Do you set yourself up for failures like that then?
I don't try to. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I'll go after the girl that I might not have a chance with. Yeah. Or I'll do something stupid to somebody. Like that I know I shouldn't do, but I know is the right thing.
Uh-huh.
And I tell myself, as long as you're doing the right thing, consequences be damned.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever see yourself ever being? Will you ever forgive the people that wronged you in your life? What is forgiveness to you?
See, I have a very, I'd want to say abstract way of like for the definition of forgiveness. I don't think that if somebody does terrible things to you that you can just be fine with it. I don't believe that. But what I believe is if somebody's wronged you and you truly love them, then yeah, you guys are going to try and work things out and get over that. But forgiveness to me is it's accepting what's happened and not necessarily moving on, but believing that they will not do the same things that they have done. And that when you look at them, the thoughts of betrayal, the things that happened, like of hurt and stuff like that, once that stuff stops jumping to your first thought in your mind when you see them, that's when I feel like I've forgiven somebody. It's when I see them for who they are, not what their actions have brought.
I like that. That's good. Everything you've been through in your life, how do you think it's affected you today?
It's made me not to really be able to trust people.
Yeah.
I prefer spending time alone and away from people rather than around people, because in my mind I say, if I'm alone, who else can hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very hard for me to make a genuine connection with somebody. Like, I've tried for so long to make connections with so many people, but I know that even though I say I'm friends with a bunch of people and like I truly want to be, it's like I don't have enough love in me to truly care for a lot of those people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, if something happened to them, I would do some stupid things. But when it comes to the specifics, I honestly don't feel like I know how to love.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't love somebody, can you really say you're connected?
That's very true. Do you think you'll ever know what love is?
I feel like there's a possibility.
Uh-huh.
I feel like maybe somewhere down the road, I may possibly meet my dad, because, like I said, I have a list of things of like who he is, or like his name, last seen place he used to live, his hair color, his height. But I feel like maybe if I find him, I can get some answers. Or maybe I'll just find the right person. But I really don't know. I'm to the stage, I mean, I've never really had good luck with that stuff, so I really doubt it. But in time will tell.
Are you optimistic for the future of yourself? Or do you think you're doomed?
I don't think... If you had asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said, I'm going to be the owner of a multi-billion-dollar company. I am going to have Ferraris driven by Bermuda tigers on deck. But You asking me today? I may be doomed. I may not be doomed. That's all dependent upon the actions I make within the next 7 years. Because my goal, my entire goal for my life, what will make me consider myself a success is making the life of my children better than the life that I had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if we're dirt poor. Well, actually, yes, I do, because I don't want my kids to be dirt poor.
Of
But
course.
as long as I can make sure others around me, especially my children, have a better life than I've had, I'd consider myself the richest man in the world.
You want your children to know what love is.
Yeah. They haven't even been born yet,
Mhm.
and I already love them. I know that.
I like that. That's good. That's good. I like that. That warms my heart. That warms my heart. Do you want happiness? Would you say you're depressed right now in your life?
I'd say that I've been this way for a long time.
Uh-huh. How do you see yourself overcoming everything you've been through?
While overcoming, one of the steps is acceptance. And I've accepted my past my entire life. But do I think I'm going to get better? Someday, yes. Throughout the countless psychologists, counselors I've been through, I know what I should be doing. It's the drive. That's what I'm missing.
How come?
It's just, I feel like I don't have anything specific to live for.
Mm-hmm.
And without a drive, without a reason to keep pushing, like, yes, if I have kids, I want their lives to be better than mine, but who knows if that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Yeah, there's a plethora of different variety of things that can happen that I can't, in this moment, I can't see any motivation, any stuff that makes me wake up in the morning and start getting ready. Because usually that's you do that when you have things to do. But
why have you been given this hand? And why do people get to live in Fiji and drink scotch all day on the coconuts of love and happiness?
I feel like it's because your life was dealt out to you because you were the only person in all of existence who could handle what you've been through. The people given pampered lives whose mommy and daddy pays for college, mommy and daddy buys you your first car. The reason why they have that life is because the universe knew they couldn't handle a life of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
It knew they couldn't handle not having the newest clothes, the best friends, the coolest gadgets. It knew. And I feel like I was given this hand because I am a very, very, like, I feel narcissistic when I say this, but I'm a very, very strong person on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people get shot. I've seen so many different crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like to me because I feel like I was the only person who could have experienced every single thing that I've experienced and still be sane.
With that, okay, This is a deep question, okay? So if you want to answer, it's fine. With all that, have you ever thought of suicide?
Several times.
How come?
Well, the first time was because of something that happened when I was 11
Mm-hmm.
with Holly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say she liked little boys.
Mm-hmm.
And JR had a decorative saber in his office that he would wear on his uniform whenever he went to special events for the National Guard. It had a ruby inlay on its pommel,
Mm-hmm.
the shiniest blade I have ever seen. And I remember going out into the yard under the little willow tree with my dog Lacey. I named her after one of my crushes, actually.
Oh, okay.
But I remember resting the tip of the sword underneath my jaw
Mm-hmm.
and thinking, if I just fall forward, it'll all be over.
Mm-hmm.
But something in me clicked, and it's hard to describe this feeling. It's like when it clicked, it was like irrational anger. It was like I wanted to blow up the world and everything inside of it. I took his decorative saber. Keep in mind, it's a decorative saber.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it had a little bit of an edge to it, but I hacked that tree down, just swinging as hard as I could.
Yeah, totally.
And it was only like a year-old tree, so the trunk was maybe a foot thick,
Yeah.
if that.
Totally.
And I just hacked and hacked and hacked until the blade bent and warped. And then I got the biggest ass beating of my life when he got home.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also the scariest because that was when I was the most unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I contemplated it 3 times in high school. The first time because I was like, yo, what would everybody else think?
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought. And then this was when I had really hurt somebody I cared about. And something that I've always made a personal rule, I try to live by my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I don't, I will let you know. I will feel like shit, but I'll most of the time end up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this certain circumstance, this female friend of mine had just gone through a massive breakup. And yeah, I'm a teenage boy. Yeah, I have fluctuating hormones.
Yeah.
And side note, when I was a kid, I got very, very good at manipulating people so that way I could get what I want. That was mostly just so I could feed me and my sister.
Totally, you got to.
But
Live like that.
I manipulated her into thinking that going out with me would be the best thing for her. And me and her started going out, and I knew it was wrong, and I broke up with her, but I couldn't give her my explanation of why, because I couldn't tell her it's because I manipulated you into this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. That would have destroyed her, would have destroyed me and her friendship. We're not friends to this day, but that's because I did other stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I realized kind of what of a monster I had become.
Mm-hmm.
That I was willing to hurt the people around me for a personal gain. And that specific thought tore me apart. I remember going to youth group, feeling hollow, them all singing and praising, and I was just standing there completely cold.
Yeah.
And that night I went home and I had a knife. And only reason why it didn't happen that night was actually because my friend called.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Isaiah called me, and he asked if he can come over because he was in town and he was bored and he had nothing else to really do. And he may not know it, but he saved my life that night. And the other times, it really doesn't matter.
That's okay. Doesn't have to. You've shared a lot already. So with all that, let me ask you the podcast questions, okay? Why are we born, Cameron?
In truth, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to believe why we're born is to show how do I say this in layman's terms? I feel like what I want to think is true is we're born to show what we can do.
Yeah.
That you may not have a specific path in life you're supposed to walk. You may have a certain path that the fates have woven together in their fucking wool. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Goddamn Amber. But I don't believe that we have a specific task where we were sent here to do.
Yeah.
I feel like we're here to show how much humanity can grow, to show how much love we can give, or how selfish you can be.
Yeah. I like that. So how come that leads to death then?
Death is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
To what has a beginning will have an end. That's just how it is. But I feel like death comes as a reminder. It's there to show us we don't have unlimited time. So what you want to do, what you're going to do, you need to do. You need to work as hard as possible to do that. Because reflecting back to Drive, if you have unlimited time, are you really going to be rushing to get stuff done to make an impact?
Yeah, totally. That's what I always say. I'm like, if you could live forever, you'd be like, I'll climb Mount Everest in 300 years, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, then, what is the point of the stuff in between?
Stuff in between.
Birth and death, right?
Those are the pages of the book.
Uh-huh.
That's what makes every single person unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, humans are 99.9987 or whatever the fucking math is identical. But that's on a biological scale. Your life will depict what you become, who you are. Your experiences make you who you are. And I feel like the reason why we have this so-called life is that way. I've lost my train of thought. It's kind of like the previews in a movie. I feel like there could possibly be something past this. And the in-between is the thing that's getting you ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's sealing your place in the cosmos.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. So what do you think's after death then?
Personally, I don't know. But I do have a couple theories.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that it's just blackness. That soon as you die, you become one with the ether of this universe, and that your consciousness just goes to black and you fade out forever. That's one theory. The second one, because I was raised in a Christian household, is that there's a heaven and a hell. But that seems too convenient for me.
Totally.
What I do, the thing that I've really been thinking about lately is everybody has a soul. Everybody has a spiritual energy. And I've been doing a little bit more research, and it said that that's in essence it's your chakra. And it moves on after your body loses its physical form. It's just like it's like having dreams when you fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Just because your body is shut off doesn't mean the small spirit or whatever is inside of us, that doesn't just turn off like that. It's still doing something. It's still there. I feel like our essence maybe has somewhere else to go. Maybe we're going to become a planet. Maybe we get reincarnated. Who knows? But I just hope that at the end, everything can be explained.
I hope so too. Totally. It's too much crazy shit that goes on without any explanation.
Yeah.
Like deja vu. What do you think it is?
I think okay. A personal belief on deja vu is, I feel like deja vu is your future self looking back upon that moment and regretting what happened. And that's why when you feel like, oh shit, something's watching me, that something isn't somebody else. It's your future self regretting or living upon that moment.
I really like that. I've never heard that before. That's really fascinating. Because like time is something we create, time.
It's a construct.
It's a construct. And here's a thought that I've said before is that imagine time is a pencil, right? And right now in time, we're at the number 2 part, right, on the pencil, right? So we're at the end of time or the beginning of time, whatever. Eventually, we're going to pass off the pencil, right? Time, whatever. And that's going to be the end of time, the so-called end of time. Time is over, right? If time has a set point that it's going to end, then nothing could ever exist, right? We couldn't be conscious. Like, you were in high school, but you aren't now.
Correct.
High school still exists, right?
But not for me.
Not for you, right? But it's still there. If time has like an ending, right? If reality, everything has an ending point, then nothing would ever exist in the first place because it would already be over. It would already be done or hadn't even begun yet, right? It's like moving through it, Okay, that doesn't make sense. Basically, if it has a set end point and then after that is nothing, then existence itself is pointless and would already be over, right? Because if there's a point of nothingness, then nothingness is everything, right? Same thing.
And everything is nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like with death, right? If after death is all black and white, or just all black and there's nothing there, it's like, then what was the point of life? And how come we were conscious during it if it just ends in blackness, right? There is like, eventually that will become where we are in the present, right? But in the present moment, we can reflect on things. So at some point, the present moment doesn't exist anymore. How could we can't reflect, or if the present moment eventually becomes blackness, then, and there's no time to reflect. Okay, that doesn't make sense. I'm not articulating this very well to you. I feel like I did a better job last time, but basically, time doesn't have an ending, dog. We're all good. After death, something's there. It has to be. There's just no way, right? Like, here's a thought for you. It's like, to me at least, the idea that we're monkeys on a rock in a vacuum and, space and time, like, that's so crazy, right? That's so far-fetched. Like, there's just no point in any of this. Like you have, like, a fucked up life versus me, who does not have a fucked up life. I mean, I have my own battles for sure, and I'm realizing a lot of stuff from my childhood that, like, I didn't know about, but now I do now, right? But my life is not as bad as yours. There's got to be a meaning behind that. Some karma-induced meaning behind it. Would you agree or disagree?
I wouldn't agree nor disagree. I would say I understand why you feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we won't know until the end.
That's true. And why bother wondering? Why
waste your time when you have this beautiful gift of life?
Totally.
Thinking about the end, when you should spend every single second focusing on how to enjoy it.
It's funny coming from you, Cam. You say you don't have any drive, right?
I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm also a very, very open-minded person.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people. I've seen a lot of things. So even though I personally don't have any drive, doesn't mean I don't have any good tidbits of wisdom for other people.
Do you think you acknowledge it at least? You're non-denial. That's I know this is so stupid and cliche, but it's a good first step. Because if you're in denial, then you really have a problem. If you're like, no, I'll get the Mercedes without doing any work, right? Not grinding, whatever. But you're going to, not do anything about it, or at least not even know that you're not doing anything about it. That's when you have a serious, serious problem. So the fact that you can understand that you need to change your shit up is a good first step, 100%.
But it's just the process on how I'm going to do that.
Hey, man. As I know we talked about, like, how we have limited time. It's a long-ass time. It's a really long... Like, I remind myself that all the time. It's like, dude, calm down. You're only 20, right? You're a little younger than I am. But I get into the same mindset of, like... Or, not the same mindset, but I get into the mindset of... Oh my God, I'm still living with my mom. What am I doing? I'm still doing this. What am I doing? Dog, we have so much life to live. We're only 20. We're only 20. It's okay. We can spare a couple days to not do anything and relax, because it's all about the present moment. It's not about reaching that end goal. It's about enjoying the moment while it lasts,
And I'm constantly thinking about the end moment.
Yeah. How come?
I'm not entirely sure.
Mm-hmm. Because you got no, not in a mean way. Not in a mean way. You have no purpose. You have to find your purpose. You get wrapped up in things that are out of your control and don't matter. You got to find something that matters to you and that's totally in your control.
Yeah.
This isn't lecture hour. I'm not trying to lecture.
No.
Okay.
I know what you mean, because I've had this hollow feeling since the moment I graduated.
Yeah.
And the reason why I feel like, now that you say that, I felt this way is when you're in high school, You know you're gonna be there for 4 years. You know that you're gonna graduate on June 6th of
Yeah.
X year. So you know, no matter what you do in that time frame, you're gonna be there until a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I graduated, it was just like, whoa, now what's next? It was like I had no direction.
Totally. And now you gotta find it. You know, I think that's a big reason why people go to college, is because one, it's embedded into us, and two, you should go to college if you got to go to college. Obviously, I'm not saying college is bad by any means whatsoever.
I was thinking about college recently, actually.
Then go to college. You know, if like that's what you got to do, then go to that. But like, I can tell you this: it's like if you don't know, and like, who am I to say I don't go to college? I'm still considering college too. Yeah, I truly am. But I can tell you this: it's like, at that point, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, and you don't have to figure out now, you don't have to figure it out now. You don't. But if you don't know what your purpose is, you're just going to be pushing it off farther again. And then you're going to waste a fuck ton of money, you know? Because you're going to go to college and get your business license, right? Or whatever. And then you're out of college and you're like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
You know? I hate doing this. I don't want to be a business major. I want to be a zoologist.
That's
right?
Yeah.
Or some shit like that. It's like, you got to find your purpose. And it's not easy. I haven't found mine. You know, I haven't found my purpose at all. But if you like, real talk with you, something I've realized that you need to do is stop using drugs and alcohol, because that will blind you from what is real. Weed, to me, okay, maybe this is a little getting a little into lecture hour.
Lay it to me straight.
Okay.
No filter.
I promise.
No filter. I'm not a bitch.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, usually it's not lecture hour. It's just like conversation on the podcast. But now it's lecture hour. Is that for me, when I stopped smoking weed, I realized that weed gave me the false sense of happiness and productivity. And what I mean by that is, obviously, the first one's kind of obvious. You smoke weed and you're like, haha, 7-Up's good.
There's the serotonin levels in your brain shoot up.
Guys, let's watch dolphin videos, you know, I love dolphins, you know, like shit like that. And it's like, that's only going to make you happy in that moment. And the false sense of productivity, it's like, you know, I'm an artist, and so now I paint every day. And okay, I don't paint every day, but when I paint, that's what I'm doing all day. I'm not worried, or I'm not, scratch that. When I would smoke weed and try to do art, is I would maybe do art for like an hour and be like, I did art today. You know, oh man, I painted today.
You feel way more accomplished about the tiny things that you did.
It's just, exactly. You don't actually accomplish anything. You just did something, and so then you feel accomplished because you did something.
Other than smoking drugs.
Exactly. Instead of just smoking weed and sitting on your butt all day, right? Because that's what I would do. You know, I used to smoke weed 24/7. I'd smoke weed, and then I'd do the dishes. Maybe do the dishes, more like make myself breakfast,
and then stare at the dishes.
Stare at the dishes and be like, well, at least I made myself breakfast instead of cereal.
You should see my room.
Exactly. You know, like, in alcohol, it's like, alcohol is a whole different topic, because alcohol is so much more worse than weed.
Yet it's legal.
Like, I've seen alcohol destroy people's lives.
Yeah, same here.
Totally. And yet you still drink it. Right? When's the last time you had alcohol?
Last time I had alcohol?
Last time you drank alcohol?
Last night.
Exactly. But you know it's fucking you up, right? You know that it's destroying your life. A little over dramatic there.
Yeah.
Right? A little over dramatic.
I've definitely cut back on my drinking.
And yeah.
Like, I'm not drinking a handle a night, or half a handle a night.
Yeah.
Like I was at one point.
I remember you sharing that with me.
Drinking a bottle a day for 2 weeks straight, showing up to school so hammered that you can smell the alcohol on me 2 rows away.
Yeah.
I'm not there anymore.
And that's a good direction.
But it's not that I don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that in those moments of my drunk ass saying some stupid shit to the person next to me and just laughing for 10 minutes about me fucking making a comment on their
Yeah.
broken pencil or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I realized that I'm not looking for like what necessarily happened in that moment or like the satisfaction. I'm looking for just the pure unfiltered emotion that I was experiencing in that moment.
Totally.
Because like I shared, I'm a really numb person.
Yeah.
Only emotions that I can really like feel. I can summon anger upon command.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can make myself the angriest person out of nowhere. And it's just alcohol. I always felt super let loose and free.
Mm-hmm.
But within the last 2 months, every time I drink it, it's like the more my guard goes up, the more I'm hyper analyzing everything that's going around me, the actions I'm doing. Am I standing weird? Am I breathing wrong? Did I look at this person too many times in the last 30 seconds? And that's kind of why one of the reasons why I've really stopped.
What I'd say about that is now you're realizing that you're bullshitting yourself, right? With the fact that you're trying to get that, you're trying to be your true self, but using it with alcohol. And now you're kind of past that point and you're realizing, well, I'm actually not being my true self. I'm just drunk, and that makes my inhibitions go down, right? And you psychoanalyzing everything, noticing everything, is you realizing that, like, I'm only drinking so I can be like this. You know, I got to be like this when I'm sober. You know, and that's a bad sign, dog. You got to stop. You know, like let me tell you this, okay? And this is tough shit to hear. I haven't drank and smoked in a long time. Like, okay, not a long time, since like April. You want to know how many friends I have? 0. Because everyone cut me off because I stopped, because I went sober, right? No one wants to be friends with you when you're fucking sober. Where's the fun in that, right? And what I'll say about alcohol and weed, though, is I sound like a total fucking narc, is that those things are not horrible when you don't abuse them. Right?
Everything is good in moderation.
Exactly. You know, water can fucking kill you if you drink too much of it.
Air can kill you.
Air can kill you. You can yeah, exactly. And you graduate high school, or your mom is getting married, or I don't know, it's just some whatever celebration. Have a drink, get fucked up, great time, because that's gonna make that moment better. But March 21st, you get off work and you didn't get a red light, so let's have a shot. What the fuck is that? That's alcoholism, you know? You know, that's just fucked up, you know, if you ask me. And like I said, like, to go back, what I was saying is just like, if you truly want to better yourself and get the Mercedes, right? Get your own business, you gotta buck up. You know, you gotta handle your shit. And obviously you've had a fucked up life, so like it's easier for me to say that. 100%. It's easier, you know, and like I have my own struggles, you know, with externally and internally. So, you know, at the same time, you know, I have shit too. You know, I have a lot of shit too, but like at the same time, like, dog, like not like you, not like you.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Everyone's own experiences hurt just as much to them as it hurts the other person next to them.
Totally. I like that a lot. And so, like, for me, it's like, or just like how I see it is, if you want to truly better yourself, Cameron, and you truly want to have the Mercedes, you gotta buck up and like fix yourself, you know. And I know that's easier said than done, but for like how I can help you, I guess you can say, is like, when, like, what I was just saying earlier about how I stopped smoking weed and I stopped drinking. And so, like, you know, I can say this with a whole heart, is that process is hard, because I kind of had a moment of where all the toxins and whatnot, chemicals, like, kind of left, and I totally was like, I was really down in the dumps. I wouldn't say suicidal, but I was totally down in the dumps.
It's because your body was accustomed.
It's totally just a chemical
Imbalance.
Yeah, exactly. And reacting to it. So it's like you're gonna deal with that for sure, and you're gonna like I said, dog. Like I'm not kidding you when I say this. Like obviously people talk to me. You come in dubs every single day and say what's up, and I have people I Snapchat and talk to. But it's like the last time someone has reached out and hung out with me, besides like one person I can think of, because they text me, they say, hey, do you want to hang out? But besides like anyone besides that one person that's done it like maybe twice, no one. It's been like months since anyone has been like, hey, do you want to hang out? Because they know I don't drink. They know I don't smoke weed. They know I don't use nicotine anymore.
Was the last time when me and you went for that hike in Black Rock?
No, that was way long ago.
I was gonna say that was a long time ago.
But even then, it's like all I'm saying, Cameron, is like, I know like I'm kind of rambling here, but all I'm saying is like the path of finding the path of bettering yourself is a lonely path. No one like, and I think that's true because I think a lot of people think someone else can fix them, right? But you have
to be able to fix yourself.
Yeah, like you're not gonna like eventually that person's gonna die, or that person's gonna break up with you or leave you. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, right?
That's true.
I'm sure all that shit. So it's like you gotta find that shit. You gotta find that will to carry on by yourself. Because I have days too, dog. I have days where I lay in my bed and what I like, because I don't know if you ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, right? Okay, it's a good ass movie, but you have the fear and you have the loathing, right? The self-loathing, like, oh, I'm a loser, I'm never gonna be anything. And you have the fear of, well, if I step outside, someone's gonna kill me, or the meteor's gonna come down, or if I turn on my car, it's gonna blah 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 blah. But it's like it goes back to what wolf are you going to feed? You ever heard of that? You ever heard of the two wolves inside of you, or the two dragons? There's two, it's like, whatever. It's like Chinese and Native American, right? The dragons, wolves, get it?
Yeah.
So like the Native American, whatever, it's like wolf. There's two wolves. There's a positive wolf and there's a negative wolf. And whatever wolf you feed, that's the wolf you're gonna become. If you're constantly feeding yourself negativity, I'm not good enough, I'm a loser, I'll never find love, my dad doesn't love me, my mom is a piece of shit, right? Like, if you are constantly reminding yourself of that all the time and letting that wolf be fed, that's what you will become, right? But if you keep positive, like, I graduated high school. Did your mom graduate high school?
No.
Your mom didn't graduate high school, but you did, right? You don't even know your dad, but let's just for argument's sake, let's say he didn't graduate high school. You graduated high school. Boom, accomplishment, right? I may not be Mr. Stud Muffin of the world, right? But you've had girlfriends, right? You've had girls that at least thought you were good enough to have sex with, right? That's a good plus, right? Not a lot of people can say that, Not a lot of people can say that, Yeah. So it's like you got to focus on positivity over the negativity, because whatever one you will feed, you will become. And I've witnessed that firsthand, totally. Like, where I'm at in my life is I want to quit my job and I can't, right? I can't quit my job because they need help, right? And if I'm standing behind the grill, right, and I'm constantly just shouting out negativity, it's going to affect everyone. Everyone's going to be affected by my negative vibes, right? And if I'm always constantly thinking negative thoughts, the negativity is going to be around every single quarter. Oh, this person looks at me fucking weird, or that cloud is too ugly, right? Just examples. But if you're positive, right? If I'm not spewing out garbage negativity all the time at work, I did this yesterday. I said to myself, I will not complain once today. Sure, I didn't talk at all.
I don't blame you.
Like,
I do not blame you.
I wasn't saying shit. I was so quiet. But everyone else was fine. No one was negative. No one was like throwing shit around, being all down in the dumps.
All pissy, coming back, throwing their fucking ice cream cup into the trash, or fucking tossing the rags against the wall.
No one was doing that. Versus when I'm negative all the time, everyone's negative. Everyone's all pissed off, right? And myself, like me being positive, right? I'm calm. I'm cool. Sure, I'm not having fun. Sure, I'm not the Bahamas, right? But I'm not negative. I'm positive. I'm thinking only positive, and so it makes me feel calm. I guess that's the best way I can describe it, is just calm. Ghost or alien stories?
Ghost or alien stories?
Yeah.
There was this one time I was in the mental asylum, and I was there because I got sent because my family thought I was super depressed and whatnot. But I remember I was there, and how my wing was set up was there was a desk like in front, and there was 12 kids in my unit, and there were 4 beds in each room, and I was laying on my bed. All the kids had already gone out to breakfast, and I'd pretend like I was asleep so I didn't go. But they left, and soon as they shut that door, I popped up, and out of the corner of my eye, where Adam was where he was sleeping, his fucking sheet did the same exact thing I did. Like, fucking, like, I sat up, and, like, it looked like there was a fucking somebody in his seat, in his bed, that fucking boof, just stood up. And, like, I whipped my head there, and the sheets just dropped.
That's crazy, dog.
I screamed. I ran after that group as fast as I could, but we were in the mental asylum. Of course, they thought I was fucking crazy.
Yeah. That's some scary shit, dog. That's some scary shit. I
remember this one time I was hanging out with my old friends Bryce and Seth, and we were down at Black Rock, and there's this like little campfire thing, and we walked down there, and we saw a old fire, like in the campsite fire pit, and on top of it was a picture inside of a frame of an old man, and like everything in that fireplace was completely burnt, like blackened.
Yeah.
Except for his. And the edges of the frame were slightly burnt, and the edges of the picture were slightly burnt.
Yeah.
But you could still see it.
That's scary, dog. That's some weird shit, dog. That's pretty weird. What do you think that is?
I think that dude his life was either celebrated there.
Yeah.
Or
his spirit lives on there.
Yeah.
I like that. Talk about living in a mental asylum. What's that like?
Well, I didn't necessarily live in it. Well, actually, that's a false statement. I was there for 3.5 weeks. How it all happened was I was staying at my grandma's house because I was over visiting, and on TV, I forget what the show was, but they had made a gag out of socks and wrapped it around somebody's head and shoved them in the closet because they were playing a prank on somebody or what I don't fucking remember every single detail. I was only 12. Well, no, I was 11, almost 12. But I went to bed, and I tied 3 of my socks together, and I put them as a gag around myself. And I was sitting there acting like I was the dude or whatever, and I remember my foot tapping the nightstand, and a single penny. Like, I remember this moment with vivid clarity. It just flipped heads over tails. Like, I was watching it flip, and it just bounced off the ground. 10 seconds later, my grandma walks in. What was that? And she sees me and thinks I'm trying to commit suicide. And then she calls Kinderhaven. No, not Kinderhaven. It was fucking Kinixu. And I go to the mental asylum over there in Coeur d'Alene.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm being completely honest, I was the most sane person there.
Yeah.
I was the most sane person there by a long shot. I met this one kid who, years later, I remember seeing on police reports, had killed his parents and was being led out of his house in a straitjacket, rambling about the demons.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually knew what he was talking about because me and him had a talk about this demon named George had been with him since he was a little boy, and always telling him to do terrible things. He would even grab his wrist and make him do certain things. But that's besides the point. That's his story, not mine. But it was hard. We were only allowed outside for 1 hour a day, and the rest of the time we were kept under constant surveillance. We weren't allowed to go into any room alone, and we got searched every 3 hours, regardless if it was when we were sleeping or out awake. To pass the time, I became an avid airplane folder.
Mm.
I probably made some odd 300 airplanes, 400 airplanes. This was back when my sister was going through like this aviation course in school. So before this had all happened, me and my sister would spend hours making different types of airplanes and seeing who could throw them farther. And I just would sit there and fold planes over and over and over. I also learned how to make those little fortune teller things at that moment.
Yeah.
But we were only allowed outside for a short period of time. We were in the same building as a lot of adults that were in a psych ward were in, but our two units were kept separate. And whenever we went to the cafeteria, we were accompanied by guards because we had to walk through the halls with the older people in them. Because to get from the kids section to the older section, you had to go through a hallway, then you had to take a fucking right, might be, and then you went over like this little like ramp thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go through another set of double doors, and then you open the yellow door, and that was the lunchroom. But it wasn't a terrible time. I met a couple at the moment from what I thought, because like I was still young, so I knew this was like a psych ward and like this was a bad place and the people here were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the people were there for a reason, but it still all hadn't fully clicked. When I saw them, I was like, oh shit, I got new friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked with them, and a lot of us actually had a lot in common. When I was younger, I was a troublemaker, but I was very good at making friends. I was very manipulative, and I could convince somebody to do almost anything I really wanted. Like, I got this one kid to sneak me his extra ice cream that he had stolen from the cafeteria. And instead of giving it to me at the cafeteria, I had him give it to me when we got back into the room. But the joke was on him. I knew we got searched every single time we left the cafeteria because they gave us metal forks and knives.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets back to the room, and I'm just sitting there like on the inside laughing my ass off. And the kid gets searched. They take out the little ice cream cup, you know, the ones like with the wooden spoons that you used to eat when you were a kid. It was one of those. And I felt kind of bad, but the kid kind of got in. It was basically like solitary confinement.
Yeah, totally.
It was solitary confinement for 24 hours. And he was just like, I'm so, like when he came out, I was just like, bro, I was really looking forward to that ice cream cup. And he's just like, I know, I'm sorry, but next time I won't get caught, I promise. And I was just sitting there like, man, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I'm not manipulative like that anymore.
Yeah.
Granted, there's times when it really could come in handy, but I really didn't understand the severity of where I was until years later. When I looked back and I was like, oh shit, I was in that psych ward right there. Like there's only one place that you can really go outside, and it's a basketball court. And they have walls 20 feet high that are like 5 feet thick there. And I was like, this is kind of excessive. At the time, that's what I was thinking. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, oh, there's a reason it was like that.
Yeah.
And, like, I remember I got in trouble there, actually. So there was this one guy that was in there. His name was Logan. And me and Logan were like two peas in a pod.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he thought of something, I would do it. I thought of something, he would do it. Me and him were both conniving little sneaky assholes there. Like, we would fuck with the staff. And this one day, we got a hold of a Sharpie. I don't know where we got it from. He just pulled it out of his pocket, and he was like, oh, yo, I got this. We went into the playroom, and, like, we had been on good behavior this entire time. Good behavior as in they hadn't caught me or him doing anything, but we were pulling a lot of the strings but in the psych ward of like the other kids getting in trouble for doing stupid stuff, whatnot. And so me and him go in there and we sit under the table and we act like we're playing rocket ship. Mm-hmm. And we're just like acting like the table is the rocket ship and we're blasting off into space, and like we're acting like we're tapping things into the top of the table underneath of us, like they're like launch codes or whatnot. And no, we were writing stuff on the bottom of it. We were doing all sorts of like stupid shit. Like I do this one stick figure with a giant old penis like halfway across the table on it, and then we get caught under there, and he wrote some pretty explicit sentences which honestly, even to this day, impressed me of how he knew that back then.
Yeah.
But we got in trouble, and we got sent into they called it the quiet room. That's what they called it. And we got locked in there for a day, but it's just, looking back, like, I know to a lot of people going to that kind of a place would be terrifying and traumatic. But like to me, it was like it was like my Friday. It was like something I was used to, but at the same time, it was even better than what I was used to because I was getting 3 meals a day. Yeah. I was around kids my own age instead of around my sister all day, or getting into a fight with my younger sister, worrying about her snitching on me for doing literally nothing. I could breathe wrong, and she'd be like, Ben! Mom!
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, that place was kind of a break.
Yeah. I've heard people say that about prison. I mean, like, you get free healthcare, you got free food, you got basketball. What else more can you ask for?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, literally, you're not wrong.
Are you grateful that you're still able to be alive today?
To some degree.
How come?
This is a hard one to answer. By hard, I mean it's hard to put the right words into a structured sentence, but am I glad? Yeah, everybody, a majority of people are happy that they're alive. But to me, the way I look at it is I can be excited and I can be disappointed, because I'm excited. I'm happy that I'm here, happy that I have a bunch of different things I can do. But at the same time, I'm not excited because what if I use the time I have for negative things? What if I use it and I hurt people around me? What if by me being here, somebody else who deserves what I'm doing even more doesn't get it, makes me feel like I'm a villain.
But only you can do something about that, right? Only you can. Only you can decide to get up in the morning and get your shit done. Start, if that's how you want to be, start a charity, right? Only you can start working towards the Mercedes, right? Only you can do it, right? Yes, thoughts and depression and whatnot are things that are a part of our lives, but at the end of the day, it's like only you can do it, dog. Gotta, like Frank said a couple episodes ago, he's like, chin up, chest out. When I asked him, has he had suicidal thoughts, he said yes, of course, and explained it. But one of the things he says is, just keep going out of spite. I really like that.
Just to piss the people off.
Just to, exactly. Like, of course they want you to fucking fail, Cameron, right? Of course people want you to be, as Joe said, the statistic child, right? The people, like, yeah, Cameron, like, to be honest though, like, I'm proud that you, as far as I know, like, you never done heroin, right? You never smoked meth. You never done cocaine. You are not falling into your mom's tendencies, and a lot of people do that. A lot of people cannot, as you recognize these things, these faults you have, right? You recognize some of the things you got. You're not falling into the same patterns as your previous.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because I see how that affected their lives, how it destroyed their relationships, how it turned them from something they could have been into an abomination. Well, not really an abomination, but...
Not themselves.
Yes. And I asked myself, do I want that for myself? No. Then why follow down the same road?
Totally. That's how I feel about it, just saying.
To a certain degree, my mom tried so hard to change herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when JR kicked me out of the house in Boise and shipped me here, my mom was actually in the middle of a recovery process of making herself become a more sober person. And she told him when he was contacting people here that she's trying to fix herself right now, but the stress of taking care of a child is going to make her go back. I feel like she used that as an excuse, but to a certain degree I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're trying to do something and even one element outside of your control happens that you were not expecting or that is too impactful, you go back to old tendencies. Like, that was the most recent thing, but my mom, she, back when all of this like stuff when I was younger was happening, she tried to go into the military. And she was actually top ranked in her training course, class, camp, whatever the fuck it is. But she was one of the top 3 marked students. And that's impressive because my mom has, like, okay. So my mom used to be a very, very artistic person like yourself. Mm-hmm. She was extraordinary at calligraphy. And she was one of the most stubborn people I'd ever met. This lady could lead a horse to water and make it drink. Like, she was that person. And she had a will like no other, except when it came to drugs. But she was in the course, and it was the final week of the training camp, and she tore a ligament, actually 3 ligaments in her shoulder. And she had already had passed with drugs such as heroin and whatnot, and she got put on morphine.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah,
morphine is a pseudo heroin.
Yeah.
And the officer, so she told them that she'd had really bad drug problems in her past and that she could not take that. Mm-hmm. or else she was going to relapse. and they didn't listen to her, and they gave her higher amounts than normal than they do for people that have had injuries because she had a tolerance to it. And instead of weaning her off of the morphine like they do with majority of people, they just cut her cold turkey. No lowering the doses, no letting her know that, the pain reliever is going to be gone.
Yeah.
They just cut her off.
That's fucked up. That's horrible.
And that's what really got her relapse back.
I can't even blame your mom, you know?
Yeah.
I'd do the same thing if I was in those shoes and with that history.
Same here.
That's horrible.
Honestly, that's probably why I don't like the government.
Fuck the government. So much fucked up shit going on. We have $7 billion spent on war, the thing we're not supposed to do, right? Military, we spend $7 billion on it, right? Or is it trillion? I don't even know. It's so much money, and yet people like your mom like can't get help. There's plastic all over the fucking world. Like, our priorities are so out of line. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Did you know that if instead of putting all that money towards our military, if we'd been putting that towards education and technology, that the entire U.S. right now could look like Dubai. And Dubai looks like a city from another country. Mm-hmm. If any of you viewers have played Magic the Gathering, Dubai basically looks like Ravnica.
Mm-hmm. Like, just total utopia.
Yeah, it's a utopia.
That's crazy, dog. Our country's fucked up. That's why I want to go to Iceland. Iceland's just fought, yo. Iceland's dope.
I mean, not that. I was thinking about fucking Kaladesh, but it's okay.
Kaladesh. It's a cool name. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Cameron?
You are what you choose to be, not what your experiences are. Yes, your experiences may help shape you into who you are, but at the end of the day, you choose what thoughts you have. You choose who you are by doing the same things over and over again, by thinking a certain way X amount of times, or by forcing yourself to do something that either you like to do or go outside the box, do something that you don't usually do so you can make yourself grow. Every single decision that you make every day over time becomes a habit. So what kind of habits do you want to have?
What makes you happy, Cameron? We've been so deep and dark this episode. What makes you happy? Truly, truly happy. Not materialistically. No people, no drugs, no this, no that. What makes you happy?
Making other people laugh.
Yeah?
Making other people smile.
Mm-hmm. I figured out your life purpose then.
Comedian?
Clown.
Fuck no.
You could try being a comedian.
I thought about it. I just to show my face, and I'd already be the highest grossing comedian.
There you go, dog. That's negativity, though. Negativity. You got a lot of stuff to talk about. You could joke a lot. You have so much material to joke about. You know? What advice would you give someone that has been through what you've been through?
Don't live in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, terrible things have happened to you, and the past is going to recirculate in your brain. You just can't do anything about that. But what you can do is take every single situation that happened in the past and say, am I going to become that? Or am I going to let that help shape me into what I want to be? Instead of saying, oh yeah, I was abused, so I flinch every time somebody talks to me too hard, or I jump when I hear a loud noise. Instead of that, say, I was abused. I've been through this shit. What more can I go through? What more can I do? Instead of being, oh, this happened to me, so I can't do this and I can't do that. No, that's making yourself. You're making yourself a victim there. If you want to get places in your life, stop playing the victim and start using those experiences to strengthen you.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you talking to the audience? Or are you talking to yourself?
I'd say 60-40.
See, that's a good joke. That's a good joke. You can write. That's good. I like that. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to follow my social media accounts for news and updates on future episodes. Links will be down below.